What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hadfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis,
Scoop.
Sam Claiborne,
hey,
and Destin Legary.
Hi, everybody.
And we've got a great show for you this week. We're gonna talk about old games.
old,
We're gonna talk about old gamers.
older.
We're going to talk about new games.
But first, let's talk about a brand new game, Far Cry 5. It is out now. I reviewed it. I gave it an 8.9. It is as great as it can possibly be without being amazing.
Yeah, that's
like the game a lot.
It's a very trolling score.
Yeah.
I'm not trolling anyone.
8.9.
It's great. Yeah. I like the game a lot. Hopefully, everyone has gotten a chance to either read my review or watch the video review. But let's dive into this. I think 75% of us are playing the game.
Yes, I'll interview you guys.
Okay. What do you want to know about?
What's the ending like?
well?
Don't spoil the ending.
No, whoa. I'm not there yet.
No, we will not spoil the ending. We are gonna. Marty.
So I understand there's a bear named Cheeseburger.
There is a bear named Cheeseburger.
He's one of your companions.
Is it the best companion?
I like Peaches the Jaguar myself. Just
What?
Maybe because I'm more of a cat guy.
Yeah.
A
good cat friend?
Ubisoft really leaned into Boomer, the dog, and all its marketing. I played through the whole game without ever getting Boomer.
Oh,
You never got him? You
No, I
never
just
even
didn't
say
do
Boomer?
I just didn't do that mission.
Is he still there?
yeah.
He's probably still.
He's still in that
No,
cage.
You gotta go get him, Damon.
I've played that game for like 2 hours, and that's one of the first things I did.
I love that. But it does give you some freedom to not do side
That's the
quests.
thing.
The
It's
game
like,
opens. You can. It suggests, like we suggest, you go down here first, but the whole map's open.
you
do
don't have
whatever.
to.
Yeah.
The world is gigantic. There's 3 main sections. Each one is ruled by a different sibling of the seed family of the cult. And then you have to take out those siblings before you go to the end of the game for like the final boss encounter. But you can do that in any order you want. It's totally open. And talking to people in the office that are playing, they went in totally different routes around the map through the story.
Who'd you take out first?
I went south first. John, I think is his name.
This is the game's been criticized by others and by me actually for is it trying to be very political and have a message, or is it just trying to be more silly Far Cry? And I can safely let you all know after a few hours, this is just more silly Far Cry. It's I blew up a bear with dynamite and he cartwheeled through the air. In the game, I appreciate that Far Cry 5 doesn't make you play for 24 hours before it's just like, here's the good stuff. I was throwing grenades from a helicopter like the second mission into the game. It's like, are you killing American citizens? Don't worry about it. Just sick your dog on them.
The criticism that's come out around the release of the game is that it doesn't address political issues.
Some people, that's a criticism for some people.
Yeah.
And not for others. It's not for me.
But they had
You can set a buffalo on fire, and then he sets everything else on fire, and then
they had an opportunity to go further. And I didn't really, everyone's talking about, Trump's America and all this stuff, but the game is really it's more like David Koresh or like Heaven's Gate. Like it's more of like gives off like a Waco vibe in my opinion. And I think the current political landscape, I think the overlap there is more coincidental than anything.
Conspiracy theories is like a big theme of it.
Well, just a cult, like a religious cult.
Yeah.
Some of the characters have conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are eccentric characters that you meet, and there are even characters that are like satires of a typical Trump supporter. Like that's
and like doomsday prepping is like a big part. Like Montana, like a send up of that kind of rural America in general. But very heightened and exaggerated. Like it's not a realistic game at all.
So where would you place this? Like rank the Far Cries.
So I've only been on board with the series since 3. But I've loved every Far Cry since then, 3, 4, and even Primal.
And Blood Dragon.
I liked Blood Dragon as well. Yeah. I don't know. It's maybe I'll have to sit with it a little more. I definitely like this one at least. I think at least as much as 3 and 4. So I don't know. Well, we'll see how
it's very non-committal.
Well, I can't.
But you're not saying. But you're not implying by that you liked Primal a lot better.
Oh,
that's not like your favorite one, right?
No, it's not my favorite one, but I liked it more than most people, I think.
Yeah.
you need to choose right now, Damon.
Yeah. Well, how about this? After beating Far Cry 5, I can't definitively say this is the best Far Cry. I still have to kind of weigh it against 3 and 4.
The opening mission is crazy. You can watch it on IGN.com, and just the voice acting, the way it introduces this setting and its villains, it's really sort of intense. And then once you get out of that and the game starts, then it's like a hard cut to just like silliness.
There is a dichotomy going on. The story that they're trying to tell is pretty serious, and like without giving away anything. where the story ends up, it ends up in a pretty serious place, despite the fact that a lot of silliness has just happened along the way. Like Destin and I were playing co-op. And I was having a lot of fun. I don't know about you. That was really
great.
like I was driving a pickup truck and you were sitting on the hood,
just shooting wildly into the air.
And then I was leaning out while you were driving. I was leaning out the side of the car and shooting cows with incendiary shotgun shells, just setting cows on fire as we drove by for no reason.
No, it's a blast. And like every time the story stuff comes on, I kind of zone out for a little bit because I'm just waiting for the next moment that I can do something crazy.
Why do we have so much of Destin's voice in the if you're in the control room? It's we get in a weird echo.
Yeah, we are. Slap back.
Yeah.
So do you think any parts of this game are difficult or are challenging?
I wouldn't say it's a particularly challenging game. And I did get some questions about the AI. Destin, would you say the AI probably is a little on the dumb side?
Yeah, they're dumb.
Yeah. That's not a big that's not a big issue for me though, because it's just it just makes it more of like a power fantasy. I'm a one-man army one woman army in my case, just taking on this entire cult.
I just want to hit people with a shovel.
I've probably only played, again, a couple hours of it. And when I made it into the open world off of the tutorial island, which itself was probably open, but then, into the world proper, there's just stuff to do everywhere. It's like, go destroy this, this seed cult silo. And the first couple times I was doing stuff like that, I'm like very sneaky. Like I'm gonna sort of semicircle around it and try to scope it out and do all that. And then I'm like, nah, you don't need to. I'm like, just run in and just shoot them all in the face and throw grenades and run and hide and bandage yourself up and like that. I feel like that's the way to play the game.
Yeah. Even with the first shotgun, you can pretty much one hit every basic enemy in the game with the shotgun.
There's some armor guys that are a little tougher, but if you stealth kill them,
or you can also stealth take them down instantly.
I found I was telling you before we started recording, I don't know how much of it's procedural and how much of it's, scripted, but right away, right when I made it into the open world, I got a helicopter. And I let my companion drive the helicopter, and if you get in the passenger seat and set a waypoint, they'll just fly you there. And so I'm like, okay, let's go take down this outpost. And then as we're getting close to the outpost, tutorial messages are popping up about how you get a stealth bonus for clearing an outpost without anybody seeing you, as it's like, bah! And I'm like, well, okay, probably not going to get a stealth bonus. But then you can, I just dove out of the helicopter and parachuted in.
Yep.
And
then while you're parachuting, you can pull out your binoculars and tag enemies so you know where they all are.
Yep.
I actually really love the auto drive feature in the game because you can do other stuff.
Yeah, then you can shoot people while the car is just driving on the side. Yeah. Although it can be kind of dumb. More than one time, when the auto driving drove me off the road into a tree or something.
Yeah.
The vehicles, the planes and the helicopters are a really nice addition. Because I think Far Cry 4 just had like a mini copter.
That had that little tuk-tuk, I don't know, some weird flying
ultralight thing. But now there are just like helicopters and planes all over the place.
And you said you didn't use your wingsuit that much.
I used my wingsuit one time for a side quest.
And is that because of the terrain setup or just because you have flying things?
Yeah, I just like, there was no no need for me to use the wingsuit.
Yeah, there is that perk you can get where you fly in on the wingsuit, but I haven't unlocked that yet.
Yeah.
I have like 40 perk points. And I don't need any perks. I can handle every situation already.
Are pretty neat.
I like the perk point system. Now instead of previously you'd have to hunt a certain animal so you get enough skins to upgrade your ammo pouch. Now you just complete challenges by just playing the game. Get so many kills with a shotgun, get so many with the assault rifle.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I like about them is you're unlocking perk points constantly just through playing. You killed a bear with a grenade. That was a challenge, and I completed it, and I got a perk point. But you can also, you can grind them if you want to. If it's get a bunch of silent kills or get a bunch of melee kills or stuff like that, you can seek them out and complete them as well.
I really like the challenges, actually. It encourages you to try out different weapons, different play styles, and learn new ways to do things. And I liked that it gave you the perk points, like you said, to do those things.
Yeah. And to your question, Sam, by the time you've upgraded your health to the max and then you've bought bullet armor, a bulletproof vest, and you've upgraded your shotgun with a scope and an extra magazine and a silencer. By the time at that point, I could pretty much just charge into any situation, totally confident that I'm going to be able to clear out the.
There is a difficulty. I mean, I'm playing on normal and it feels pretty easy, but you can play on hard if
sure. You can always crank up
that kind of gamer. I would say my first impression Again, like I think it makes a stronger first impression than Primal and 4 on me. I fell off of both those games pretty fast, and Far Cry 5, I have much more of a feeling of wanting to get back in and experience more.
I think it makes a really good first impression. The villains are not as memorable as Voss or Pagan Min, I don't think. It's like the cult thing is cool, but there aren't any like quotable, like memorable lines.
I do think the cult, like I can't tell you anything. I feel like Pagan Min himself was very memorable, but then his army are just like these lackeys. They're just drones, whereas the cult members have a little bit more personality to them and reason for being in this world. And you see them interacting with this world and just harassing people.
And, it is cool that Joseph Seed, the main villain, has his 3 like sibling lieutenants.
It's like the Koopa Kids.
They are like the Koopa Kids,
Ludwig.
And then Jess, I don't want to spoil anything,
Lemmy,
but Faith, the female boss of the game, she's pretty interesting and probably she is the most video game-y for like world in her boss fight. Basically, even though Far Cry 5 is set in modern day America, they figured out a way to add zombies to the game.
There's just like brain dead people who are all hopped up on drugs, and just like the way they handle drugs in Far Cry, I'm just like, all right, typical. I'm high and a total alternate reality.
Well, that's
scenario.
also kind of become a cliche for Far Cry, right? Like a trippy dream sequence.
Hit him with bliss bullets.
Real or not?
There's bears hopped up on drugs.
Oh yes, there's
spoilers.
There are animals that are tripping balls that you have to go and hunt down that are super powered. Anyway, the game is really fun. I really enjoyed it a lot. I like.
And then arcade, you said, was kind of not as.
Then there's Far Cry Arcade. That one I see the potential in, but right out the gate is a little bit of a disappointment. That's where you can build your own levels and use assets from other Ubisoft games. So first of all, the editor is very in depth, but it's like not a casual tool at all.
I hopped in and messed with it a little bit for like an hour, and I put some buildings down, I put down a bunch of trees, made some terrain, spawned in some enemies without AI, and just slaughtered them. And I mean, it's pretty easy to hop in and start using if you spend like an hour. But if you want to get serious and make a real map, that's going to be a big time investment.
Yeah, I think making maps and levels that will be worth playing is going to take some real time, dedication, and talent.
It's worth checking in, Sam. We should probably assign someone to like every couple weeks, just be like, what's the coolest stuff people are building in Far Cry Arcade, and try to get some videos up on IGN. Like, because it feels like one of those tools that once people get their arms around it, we're going to see some really insane stuff come out.
Yeah, it's not for me. But I think, like I said, if people are dedicated to it, they'll be able to make some cool stuff. At launch, there's a level that recreates the mansion from Resident Evil 7. But you don't go inside. You just walk around the mansion, and then you won that level.
You beat the mission.
Yeah, you beat the mission.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it is right now.
There's assets from Watch Dogs 2, Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, and a few of the other properties. No Splinter Cell.
That was also a little disappointing because it's so like the assets from Primal aren't like woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. It's like a bone pile or a rock. Look at this prehistoric rock.
It's a tree, but it's really old.
I know. And then the Watch Dogs 2 stuff is just like a statue. It's like, the iconic statue from Watch Dogs. Like, no. Anyway, I think there's potential there, but right out the gate, it's a little bit.
The game gives you the thinnest of thin justifications for how this is happening in the middle of America. By the way, it's like just don't think about it too much. Just dynamite some bears.
Also, the game tracks how many people you kill, and so when I beat the campaign, I'd killed 1,500 cult members.
Good work.
Wow. I know. And so I tried looking up like what's the largest cult ever. It's hard to get exact numbers. But certainly, if this cult has at least 1,500 members, that has to make it one of the largest cults.
And you're a U.S. Marshal in this game.
Yeah. Well, you're a deputy.
Excuse me. So you have to assume that probably a dozen of those people were not cult members, at least.
Yep.
That's still like a 99.9% like accurate rate of killing the right people.
What's that?
Does it give a bear count?
Cult bears.
Doesn't give a bear count.
Yeah. You just
as long as you read them right, you're okay.
Yeah.
The bears?
The cult members.
Google tells me that there are at least 25,000 Scientology members. Whether that's a cult or not, I don't know, but that's sort of what I was gauging against.
Yeah.
Anyway. Simon Dixon writes in with a question about Far Cry 5. He says, I've seen a fair bit of Far Cry 5 coverage lately, and I'm very intrigued. I've never played any of the series, so I'd love it if you were able to give me a bit of a rundown. Its standout moments and what the best Far Cry game is to try first. I'm looking to dive in somewhere and would love some background before I do so. So,
get Far Cry 4, I would say, to start, because it's cheap.
Well, okay, it's cheap, but also it's like, I don't know, Far Cry 5 is out right now, and it's the game.
If they're always upgrading one after the other, they might as well get the newest one, right?
If you get 5, you get 3 also, don't you?
You get 3 whatever remastered is coming this summer.
Yeah, so you get that for free.
I didn't know that.
That's a good point.
So
So get 5.
If you're not getting 5,
that's actually really.
4.
I don't think there needs to be a series starting point with a game like this, though.
The stories are not related.
And then the gameplay might get old if you play a bunch in a row. So maybe
the gameplay actually is very similar across all of the games.
Well, it is getting sillier, I think. Like it's not following quite the same arc of like a Saints Row. Like that started as like a GTA clone and then just went completely ape by the final ones. But it is headed in that direction. Like it's leaning harder into like power fantasy and hijacking airplanes and just going completely crazy. And like 3 was a little bit like that. And then 4 more so, and then 5 I think is the most. And on the silliness scale, it's the highest.
I'm having a great time. I love that it's silly. Actually, that's my favorite part.
It's not a criticism.
I played 3. I skipped 4 actually. I played Primal, and then so like I just love that I can just hop in. I don't have to think about what's happening in the world. Just have fun, do whatever you want.
3, I mean, 3 is truly excellent. Like that game was such a revelation when it came out, but it's not. It's much more survival oriented and like skin an alligator to get a better quiver, and like they've sort of leaned away from that part of it.
Yeah, I would say get 5 because you're also going to get 3, and then if you like the whole Far Cry formula, then maybe check out Primal because it's the same thing in a very different setting with no guns, obviously. It's a prehistoric game. And that game is really cool. But basically, the Far Cry thing is you're a one-man army in a very hostile environment.
Yeah.
And there's all these gameplay systems working in an open world and mixing together to create chaos, basically. There's the combat system, there's a vehicle system, there's a wildlife system, and there's a physics system sort of governing it all. And it's all these things are happening around you on their own, regardless of whatever you're doing.
Is there good destruction in this game, physics-wise?
Yes,
well,
sort of. I think
there's a lot of explosions, but like buildings don't blow up.
Are there
the fire though is really cool because it'll like set
fire will
everything
spread, but there isn't like destruction.
Like spreadable fires are really cool. That's like a new thing in games now.
Yeah.
I mean, Far Cry had it a few
Far Cry
iterations
2
ago.
was its whole thing.
Yeah. Like even Zelda's doing that now.
Yeah. Oh, and here's a pro tip: that you will get incendiary shells, like shotgun shells. But if you shoot an enemy and set them on fire, they'll charge at you and try to set you on fire. That's
Cool.
Pro tip.
That's so salty.
That's a scoop gem,
Real
ladies and gentlemen.
Scoop gem.
Anyway, Far Cry 5. Sam, do you think you'll play it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna. We have a 3-day weekend. IGN staff.
I
has
didn't
a
even
3-day
remember
weekend,
that.
So,
Yeah, we get Friday off.
I'm definitely gonna be playing this weekend.
Good Friday.
Far Cry Day.
That's
Good
what they're
Far
calling
Cry
it.
Day. Yeah. All right, moving on. This is Josh.
Hey,
he
Josh.
says, I recently had the experience of seeing my friend playing Tomb Raider and was surprised to learn that it was the 2013 game rather than the more recent sequel. I was surprised at how not old the game seemed. The graphics were good, the gameplay held up, the design was right at home in 2018. I remember back just a few years about when games that came out 5 years apart were wildly different experiences. I know that many old games are incredible, and the passing years really won't take the shine off a truly great game, no matter what era it came from, but you have to admit it feels a bit different now. It came to mind how you can watch an action movie from the 80s, and while you can definitely tell its era from the style and choices made in production, it wouldn't be out of place in theaters 30 years later. Have games crossed some line where a blockbuster from 5 years ago can still feel like a blockbuster? Or will I look back at Far Cry 5 years from now and think it was somewhat primitive?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit on Scoop before about how this generation, it's been a little bit slow to sort of have its defining, like, our Destiny and the Division and sort of online games as a service. Has that finally sort of emerged as this generation's defining thing? Like last generation, games like Assassin's Creed, open world became the norm and not the exception. And so it took a year, but like Assassin's Creed, Gears of War, eventually we got some games that kind of defined the Xbox 360 gen. And, then Tomb Raider came at the tail end of that as, being a semi-open world.
I guess I don't know. I guess I want to point out Tomb Raider came out in spring 2013, and then the PS4 and Xbox One would launch 6 months later.
And then it got ported to those.
And then it got
I don't
ported.
know which
And
version
maybe he was
you
playing
saw.
the definitive edition.
And then
or
the
whatever it's
PC
called.
version was always really scalable, and I think that's a really important point now.
crazy
That like
haircut.
scalable PC games, even 5 years ago, scaled up pretty well, and they still look pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the whole stylized game art argument where, like, Wind Waker, it still looks fantastic. If you go back and watch it, it's stylized and timeless. It's just when you're trying to go for realism, you start noticing, like hands and fingers and stuff in old games looking like mittens. That's like a really common thing. Like, there will be tells for today's games. I don't know what they are. I'm sure they're teeth and eyes and stuff like that.
Probably eyes. Stuff like that.
So, like, Destiny 1 came out in 2014. I think. Anyway, so like 7 years from now, I think that genre will be really refined, and we'll be able to look at something and look back at that game. And
except you won't be able to play that game.
Well, if they shut down the servers,
yeah, that's a whole other issue.
Well, I mean, whether the game is literally, an always-on MMO like Destiny, or every game is moving to sort of a service model of like Battlefront 2 is a lot more traditional, but they're trying to design an experience that someone will stick with for years and years. Or Assassin's Creed Origin put their own spin on that with sort of a collaborative, cooperative, these mega bosses that people work together to take out. Like, games, I feel like this generation's defining characteristic is finally emerged as, we want to keep you playing our game for years and years and years, and hopefully give you some reason to keep transacting in it. But to bring it around to Josh's point, like Tomb Raider, I don't know, it's just taken a while, for games to evolve, I think.
It's the same engine, right? Like Tomb Raider, the original and the sequel, they were both developed within the same engine. So there's a little bit of increase there, game over game, but
we're also seeing just console generations are slowly getting longer and longer over time, right? So there are 5 years. 5 years meant the difference between the PS1 and the PS2, but there were 8 years between the launch of Xbox 360 and Xbox One. So yeah, 5 years used to mean a totally different console generation. So they're obviously different.
I'm a huge fan of Tomb Raider 2013, and I think that game was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. I think it's influencing, third-person action adventure games that are coming out now, and its survival systems, and again, sort of the semi-open world and the freedom you have to approach these combat encounters. Doesn't feel out of place in 2018 because in 2013 there weren't as many games doing it. Like it sort of got dinged a little bit for being an Uncharted clone, but I think that was unfair to it. Like it had a lot of fresh ideas.
I think there's a lot more on it. Freedom and exploration in that game than there is in Uncharted.
Yeah. I actually really considered Tomb Raider 2013 a modern classic. I think that game's excellent.
No, Sam likes it. You much prefer it to the sequel, right?
Yeah, yes, much prefer it. I think it was a much better game. I don't like how the second game took place in kind of a drab region. I thought like the tropical island that was getting battered by a storm was really cool. And I thought I had a good time exploring it. And then I just didn't like what was it, Siberia or something? It's just kind of dull to me. So that's why like even just this smallest tease of it taking place on like pyramids in the jungle in South America.
The next Tomb Raider.
Yeah, that looks so much more appealing to me.
Yeah. I guess I do think though video game like graphics have crossed a line where like there was a hard shift at one point moving into the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 when games went 3D, right? That was a hard shift. Games looked totally different from what they did in 8 and 16-bit eras.
And then there's like a really important shift from CRT to flat screen,
widescreen,
16 by 9. Like
HD.
That's something where like when you go back and you see Mario now, you're usually seeing it on the wrong monitors for that. You're not seeing it on a tiny dorm room CRT screen like I saw it on. And that looked really good. And Mario still looks really good on that. But you see it blown up and it looks polygonal and kind of silly.
Yeah.
We're seeing...
We'll like there might be another jump to 4K that will go back to 1080. It might even look janky and blurry and stuff. I don't even know.
I think like right now the jump is from like 1080 30 to 60 frames at least, or 4K 60. A lot of people are... It's just smaller. It's less noticeable than a graphical shift like Damon was mentioning.
Yeah. All right, this is Chad from St. Louis. He says, as I've gotten older, I thought I would stop playing games, but that has not proven to be the case. I have noticed that my taste has changed. I do not have the snappy reflexes to dominate shooters like I used to, and prefer single-player games now that are less stressful. Same, Chad. Same. This got me thinking about the wave of senior citizen gamers that will inevitably be here. I know some seniors play now, but they do not really represent the hardcore base that is not old enough yet. My question is, what impact will having millions of dedicated senior citizen gamers have on the industry? The easy answer is that by then they'll just live in VR. But it's more fun to think about the types of games they will play and how games will change to appeal to this new audience. Maybe turn-based RPGs will make a resurgence due to their simple inputs and slow pace.
I've heard the VR argument before, like senior citizens are all going to be in VR. I don't buy it.
No, you don't think so?
If you go to senior citizens' homes now, they're all watching, black and white movies. They're watching the stuff from their era.
Well, yes.
But what about 100 years after VR becomes popular? I guess is the
Well, but I'm
and
saying
also,
like when we're in senior citizens' homes, we're going to be having, Halo LAN parties.
Unless VR's gotten to the point where you can just live in your past.
Yeah.
Nah.
Like
Yeah,
most
it's like San Jacinto, is that the
San Junipero.
San Junipero, yeah.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. So like most of my adult life is spent trying to crawl back to the 80s. if as a senior citizen I can just live in the 80s, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
Myself.
That's cool.
But VR aside, yeah, it is interesting. We're the first generation to grow up playing video games our whole life. It's not, obviously it wasn't just a childhood thing. It's a hobby and an activity that we'll be doing our entire lives. So yeah, we will be the first like old senior citizens to be playing video games.
I resist the idea that people slow down or get worse at things as they get older. I don't think that's true
I
at all.
think it is true, dude.
I think what you don't have time to do is practice.
No, but it's even true with pro gamers.
Yeah.
Pro gamer. It's like when you get to your late
Your reflex
20s.
speed
But we're not
slows.
okay. Well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about enjoying games, and like enjoying a multiplayer game shouldn't be something that's tied to age.
I think he meant playing at a competitive level.
Yeah.
I don't think
Or
he
even
meant
just playing-
enjoyment level.
playing-
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
competitive
you
shooter.
mean at an enjoyment level, though. Like
Yeah,
you don't enjoy
because-
playing multiplayer games.
Well, there is
Because
He's
getting
not
because
competitive.
spawning in Call of Duty and getting shot immediately, spawning being killed isn't enjoyable. But
you
that's
also-
my experience.
You will reach an advanced age where, it would be hard to play an FPS. Like, I can totally buy into that.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
I'm 36. I play Destiny. I get like a 2.0 KD, and I'm past that
I don't know what
age
that
gap.
means. Justin, what's a
Kill,
2.0
kill death
KD?
ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
It means he kills 2 people for every time he dies.
Yes. So, and like that's okay, but there's the really good players are way better than that. But I'm still having fun. I don't think I'm terrible. But yeah, I don't know.
So there's a couple. This brings it back around to the game preservation argument of like some of the games that I really love. Will it even be? And again, we're talking decades from now, 30 years from now. Will it even be very easy to find and legally source and play? The games that I'm interested in. That continues to not be much of a point of emphasis for our industry. Well, I guess maybe that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what about the fact
I'm not convinced that old people can't play games as well as young people. I think that's ageist and ridiculous.
It's not. I'm
It's
not.
literally true. I don't know.
It's not literally true.
I think we're just
It's
making an
different for
observation.
being like physically disabled or something.
Your
I
reaction
mean,
time
so
slows down.
You think like a
No.
65-year-old could play a first-person shooter competitively against an 18-year-old?
Yeah.
In school?
You just have to be good at it.
I don't know. I think there is, just like in real sports, your physical ability matters.
I think this is the one exception to that, which is beautiful and interesting, and that you can live in a virtual world and be just as strong as an imaginary character. Like it's just it has nothing. You're just controlling with your hands and your eyes.
Yeah, but that's a physical. Those are both physical.
Yeah, I actually.
I
Think
mean, the best chess players in the world are not.
That's
the
a totally
young
different thing.
kids.
That doesn't require any physical.
But no, all games don't require physical
they-
ability.
They do. They require hand-eye coordination and reflexes.
I think Billy Mitchell's still the best Pac-Man player in the world.
That may be.
Guys, there's so much evidence to say that, like, there's good older players. Like that's.
We'd have
I
to
didn't say
look
there's
at.
no
We'd have
You
to
can
look
think
it
of
up.
one genre, first-person shooters, which
Yeah.
only has kids that grew up playing first-person shooters recently in it.
Which is what we're talking about. I'm talking about first-person shooter.
We would have to look, but I think there have been like cognitive ability studies. I can't talk, but there have been studies where that showcase about slower reaction time and such. And I think that's all that these guys are talking about, really.
I remember the other point.
I'd
I was
have to
gonna make.
do research though and find sources and such.
In addition to game preservation, this sort of intersects with accessibility, options in games. Celeste made headlines recently for, I forget what they call it. It's assist mode, or, for whatever reason, like it wasn't judging, like if you're disabled or whatever. It's just like for whatever reason you want. Like you can play the game at half speed, you can play the game with infinite health. Like we want you to be able to enjoy your game. We didn't design it with this in mind, but look, like,
Nintendo's super into that.
yeah, and so though, that's usually brought up in the context of disabilities. There's feel-good stories about, like, I have a physical disability, and the way that I need to play a game is in a combination of, like, keyboard and controller, and that's what works for me. Can you please make it so that both inputs work concurrently? And then the developer's like, yeah, we'll put that in the next patch. But as people do get older and, well, maybe their physical abilities don't decline, but operating under the assumption that they do, there's going to be probably more and more of a market to make your game, accessible for the old fogies.
Yeah.
As gamers age up into the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, if that's a bigger segment of your paying population, like, it's important that they be able to play and enjoy your game.
I wonder if marketers will change their strategies too. Like, maybe there's games that are going to start being developed for older gamers and stuff like that.
Or
like
consoles like the Atari VCS.
Yeah, stuff like that. Play all 300 360 games. No,
I mean, that's what that console, like, ostensibly the only, and this was a
new Atari
fact we got this week
Yeah.
from the PR people that were like, who's this for? And they're like, people that know what Atari is. That's like the short answer.
Yeah.
That it wasn't almost exactly that.
They're really banking on just the Atari brand name attracting their audience,
Yep.
which remains to be seen.
Did you buy one?
That's marketing at an older audience.
Did you grab one?
No,
You have a lot of
I'm
Atari
a little,
stuff,
a little young for Atari even.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But I mean, I like looking.
You like
back on it.
retro stuff?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've experienced it through that. Have you guys have played Atari games recently? They kind of suck.
Yeah.
One of my
We talked
first
about that
consoles were Atari. I remember playing Berserk.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
a cool arcade game, but also very limited.
Yeah.
The Atari games today, I would say, have a limited appeal.
Yep.
There are certainly some Atari 2600 games that are still fun, but by and large,
Ready Player One, that reference to that old Atari game with
Yeah.
the Easter egg.
Adventure.
Yeah.
did you all see Ready Player One?
Nah,
I did.
not interested.
Did you see it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Sam thought it was okay.
Yeah, I
it
thought
was
there was
okay.
parts of it that were
Thumbs up.
not great and parts of it that were very Spielberg and fun, which is cool.
I like that book, by the way. I have never seen public opinion turn more thoroughly and more
like that
epically
book,
on
yeah.
a book. Like, when that book came out, everyone loved it. Like, it got rave reviews everywhere, and it was like, you got to read this book. It's really cool. And now that book is universally reviled and hated.
It went from underdog, which
Yeah.
people can all
like-
get on board with, to like super franchise, and then people that didn't like it became more vocal.
Well, I also think Ernest Cline's second book was like exactly the same.
Yeah.
And so then it's sort of like, then it made people actually go back and retroactively revisit RPO and be like, I don't know.
Was it Ready Player Two?
It was
It's
not.
called Armada.
Oh, okay.
Is it a spoiler that a character that I like a lot is in the movie
Is in the movie.
Spoilers.
that we talked about?
Yeah.
That's a spoiler. Okay, then I won't bring it.
I don't know. I mean, all the Easter egg appearances and stuff like
I just
that.
didn't want to.
I know you're talking about.
I didn't want to see the movie, but there is a character that I like a lot that's in it, so I feel.
Yeah, I think it's worth
Like a
seeing
reference?
Yeah.
Like like something that from other movies that is worth going to this movie to see, because the scene is like long enough and in depth enough about that.
I'll have to see it for that.
Yeah.
All right, this is Nate in Tampa, Florida. It says, new Scoop fan here. Thought you all should know you're my Netflix of gaming podcasts. I listened to one, and now I'm binge listening to them all.
Yeah.
So glad there are so many for me to go back and listen to without having to wait a whole week. Yeah, 400,
Is this question about Ryan Geddes?
476.
I wonder how
other
far
episodes.
it's like you wouldn't go back and watch the original Doctor Who. I mean, plenty of people do, but there's a jumping on point. If you say, "Oh, I caught an episode of Doctor Who and it's so great," say, "Go back and watch." Start at season 2.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you start at Scoop? Where does the modern Scoop era start?
The modern Scoop era, probably
moved
when
to a video
we moved
show?
to video, which would have been 2011 or 12. 2012.
We're on the couch.
That's right.
Yeah. But I don't, it is weird to like go back and listen to a topical newsy gaming podcast that's 12 years old. But, we also like flipping through old video game magazines.
Yeah.
So it takes you back to a snapshot of what was happening in video games right at that moment, 11 years ago, whatever it is.
They'll never make a sequel to Tomb Raider. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the old game.
Nintendo is dead.
There was like a lot of memes back then. Like you guys who get fan art a lot.
We got a lot of fan
we gotta-
arts.
we gotta bring back Pinball
Ryan was
Party.
made from lava.
Ryan was made out of lava.
Greg had a Superboy thing. Well, that was more.
He just likes.
Did you guys have the
Charles
Jeff- the Jeff
Onyet
belt?
would not say the word penis. No matter how hard we tried, he absolutely refused to say it.
Try to trick him into it.
Yeah, we tried. Anyway, Nate says, speaking of binging, have any of you gone back to a game series and binge played them all? Either new to you or one you keep going back to. Mine is Halo. Once I start, I gotta play them all.
Cool.
Which I guess the Master Chief Collection makes that reasonably
that'd be really fun.
easy. Yeah, last year I did that with 2D Castlevania games.
Nice.
And what was the there was one other was it oh, you went through a couple systems. That's what you did.
Yeah, I was going
like
through
Links
systems
and
that I had
stuff
never
like that,
played,
yeah.
Game Gear and those types of things. Yeah, but I also went through all the 2D Castlevania games up to the 3DS. Basically what you can play on a TV. That was really fun for myself.
Mine's Mass Effect. I play through Mass Effect regularly. I've only done the trilogy 2-3 times, but I've done 1 and 2 probably 7-8 times.
Wow.
I played through 1 like 40 times.
That's great.
Like many
I think one of
40
my
times.
Many
favorite
times, yeah.
Destin Legary fun facts is that you've played through Mass Effect 1 40 times, but never as female
I
Shepard.
played through about a quarter of the first one as Fem Shep, but like I've played through it as male Shep so many times. I'm just like, that's Shepard to me. So it's weird for anybody else to be in that role. I don't know why.
Once you've done it as male Shepard 30 times,
right, this
you get a
time-
different experience as Fem Shep.
They're not wildly different. They're like a little different. Yeah.
It's just okay. Whatever.
I
We can
get
move
a lot
on.
of crap for this. It's fine. Bring it on.
He's used to it.
I don't have a tendency to binge or replay much at all, but I'll catch up on things that I missed, like Damon was saying. So several years back, I caught up on computer RPGs and Baldur's Gate and Planescape and Baldur's Gate 2. And I actually never made it around to Icewind Dale, but I will eventually. And so catching up on that whole legacy and era that I missed was wonderful. It's some of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah,
And
those are-
Baldur's Gate 1's a little rough, but mostly they actually still hold up.
A lot of those games I know I would enjoy a lot, but I've just never been much of a PC gamer. So like when it's starting to become more common for computer RPGs to be brought to consoles like Divinity. So I'm waiting on Divinity 2.
Yeah.
What's the other one from? Is it Pillars of Eternity?
Pillars of Eternity.
That one I want to check out too.
Pillars is excellent. Still playing through Pillars 1.
Yeah. Sam, any binging? Game
No,
binging?
I never do that. I do like I'll get stacks of old games or like boxes of old games and go through those. Like that's probably the closest thing I get to that. But I do have like games that I'm like, okay, for my personal development, I need to play this game.
Yeah.
And like Final Fantasy VII, I've never played Final Fantasy VI. I have to play that game.
It's not that good.
You
And
still
I've never
haven't ever
played it.
I've gotten
No.
to this too, and I'm like, I can't keep going.
That's like top.
I don't want
of
to kill
my-
any more houses.
Yeah, and like I don't want to have to play it on PlayStation because of the load times and all that stuff. But there's a really good. It's
on PC.
There's PC, and then there's a PS4 version. Apparently, is really nice now.
Yeah.
There's this new fancy one coming out.
Yeah, which
never
since
coming
that
out.
has so much different systems, I don't think that's of as like interesting historical value to
I was
me.
totally joking.
Well, no, but I was gonna wait for that, but then people told me, oh no, it's super different. So
It's a
don't wait
completely
for it.
different. It's like a retelling of the same.
Yeah.
Speaking of turning on or having a turnaround, I feel like people have turned on the Final Fantasy VII remake. Whenever it's like
The internet?
whenever we write
Changed
an
their
article
mind.
about it, the comments are not particularly.
But are they
They'll all
negative
still
about
buy
it being vaporware or about it looking dumb?
not dumb, just like totally different.
It's
And
been like 10 years. It's unbelievable when that project was announced.
Remember when it was announced and the reaction? Everybody lost their minds.
Yeah.
It probably has only been a couple of years, but it feels like it's been a decade.
No, you're right. It's been a long time. Well, there was the tech demo, and then everybody thought it was being made. Then they said it wasn't, but then it totally was.
Yeah.
And then they revealed it.
That's an interesting topic, like things that the cultural sentiment,
like turning.
games specifically that like people like really don't like.
It's always when something gets popular, right? Like who's the comedian?
like Call of Duty, right?
IGN.
The Dane Cook.
Oh yeah,
Everybody on Earth hates Dane Cook, and yet he sold 20 million comedy records. So it's like y'all bought his album, you all listened to it, but then suddenly it's like not.
Remember the Jerky Boys?
Yeah,
they were great.
yeah.
I thought that was the funniest CD I'd ever heard in my entire life when it came out. Like I remember listening to it over and over again with friends, just over and over.
Oh, they're prank calling people.
Yeah.
What are they going to do
I
next?
love prank calls. I think that's some of my favorite stuff ever.
All right, this is Tim from Toronto. He says, I will be going to an arcade bar, Tilt Toronto, for my brother's 30th birthday, and I'm looking to hear your suggestions as to what games I should play. We have the place booked to ourselves for 2 hours, and I want to spend it wisely. So he sent me the list of games that they have.
Oh, boy.
So I think we should tell him,
Is Tapper on it?
play or pass.
Because if you're in a bar,
We're gonna get
and you
to
have
it.
a mug of
Whoa. How long is this list?
It's not that long.
Oh, okay.
And it's in alphabetical order. So spoilers, no, Tapper's not. They do not appear to have Tapper.
Okay.
try
Well, that's the
Pac-Man.
perfect game to play in a bar.
What about Area 51, Site 4?
Pass.
It's a shooter. It's fun, but
It's
what
gonna
else
be
is
one
on
of
the
those,
list?
First person shooters. Asteroids.
Pass.
Think so?
Have you played it?
I think Asteroids is fun.
It's not fun,
Oh,
but it's beautiful. It's aesthetically
game.
amazing.
He's only got 2 hours.
I think
Spend it with
But
like
your
NBA
game will
Jam.
last-
Like
your game will last under 25 seconds.
if it's an original cabinet, I think that's a cool cabinet. I like the
Black
floaty.
and white.
I like the floaty gravity. I like the breaking up the asteroids into smaller little
Yeah,
bits.
and the control panel is gorgeous. It's like this cool spaceship control panel. And then look for that monitor. Like the asteroids leave streaks in it, and like that's something that only that vector monitor is ever going to be able to do. Your TV is never going to look like that. Check it out.
I like Asteroids. Baby Pac-Man.
pass.
Baby
that
Pac-Man
game's
pass.
amazing.
It's actively bad.
No. You're thinking of Pac-Man Jr. or something.
you're right. I
Baby
am. I am
Pac-Man-
thinking of Pac-Man
Yeah,
Jr.
this is
That's
a
a half pinball.
it's a hybrid pinball machine Pac-Man game where you play on the upper maze with the joystick.
That's so
And then
weird.
as soon as you go out the side or go down to the bottom,
Yeah.
Pac-Man turns into a pinball and just falls into a little pinball machine.
I rescind
like
my
a
answer.
nice bally pinball
sounds cool.
machine.
Yeah, you had me dead to rights. I
And
was
you just
absolutely
flip,
picturing
flip, flip,
Pac-Man.
flip,
Pac-Man Jr.
Yeah, and that's like a scrolling Pac-Man game. You can skip that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Baby Pac-Man's super fun.
Battlezone.
Battlezone's amazing. Another
the tank
vector
game?
game. Yeah, you put your head into it, and you're like looks like you're in a vector world that would only have been remarkable to people in the 80s. But I think it's fun to look at.
Bubble Bobble.
Good with a friend. If you have a friend with you,
It's
it's
very-
two-player bubble bubble.
Yeah,
Play it with your brother.
He said we have the place booked. So.
Yeah.
I would say pass because he can get that experience at.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
If you want to make a journey.
It's not an amazing arcade leap to play bubble bobble, and there's no dedicated cabinet, so it's just gonna be something else.
It says they have classic cocktails. 3. I think they mean cocktail tables, but I don't know what.
Does that mean he's going to drink and play games? That's fine.
I mean, yeah. They don't say what cocktail tables they have. Crystal Castles.
Haven't heard
So
of
that
one.
one's skippable.
weird
But
game.
take a picture of the side art.
Yeah.
It's a trackball, and you move a little bear around a castle, and it's the first game ever with a warp zone.
Oh,
Levi Buchanan owns that cabinet.
Yeah, he still does. He had a few, and that's all Atari games are designed in the Bay Area, so it's a local game.
Says they have Donkey Kong Reunion. I don't know what that means.
Donkey Kong Reunion is a new, I believe, Namco licensed a couple Donkey Kong games in one cartridge. It's really weird that Nintendo worked with Namco on this.
So it's like an arcade cabinet has Donkey Kong Jr. and 3.
At least has 1 and Junior in it. Of course, I would always say go to the Nintendo machines.
Yeah.
They're always beautiful.
I love Donkey Kong Jr. It's hard for me to pass that up. They have an Extreme Arcade multi-game cabinet.
Skip.
Street Fighter 2.
Yes.
yeah. Just pop it.
Wonder which
or
one.
Play it.
It just says Street Fighter 2.
What year?
Street Fighter
was
2,
Street Fighter 2
Turbo?
from like 89?
2000. Sorry, 91.
Yeah, 'cause
91?
Street Fighter, I think, was 89.
Like Street Fighter 2, 1991, still eminently like playable, competitive, fun, deep, like gorgeous.
Still got to make top 10 Street Fighter 2s.
Yeah.
Haven't done
There's
it.
so many of them.
There are. Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate.
I like that one, but
Yeah.
I'm nostalgic
Yeah.
for it, but play Street Fighter instead.
All right.
Just watch fatality videos on YouTube. They're hilarious.
yeah.
They're so funny.
They have Miss Pac-Man and Galaga cabinet.
Miss Pac-Man for sure.
I don't like
And
that
Galaga.
cabinet because you can continue. So it throws off
on
all
Miss Pac-Man?
competition. Yeah, you just put in a quarter.
Galaga?
Is that the one where you sit, Sam? Like the dual thing?
No, it's just an upright usually.
Oh, okay.
But
I have,
there is a cocktail version.
I have a soft spot for the Galaga arcade machine because it was in my orthodontist's office.
That's so
play.
Oh, man.
I love how dentists and orthodontists have had arcade machines. That was a thing.
It'd be so much nicer than that waiting room. NBA Jam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I just went to a really cool talk on NBA Jam. Here's a fun fact. A real scoop, Jim. That game made $1 billion in quarters. Wow. In 1 year.
a
billion
year?
with a B dollars in 1 year. Jurassic Park came out about 2 years before it, made $350 million worldwide.
Wow.
So NBA Jam was the biggest thing on earth.
In a year.
Yeah.
That's
Shaq
cra-
bought
that's
2 of
crazy.
them. he took one on a plane
He paid in quarters.
when they went to other cities.
Says they have Neo Geo, but it doesn't say what games.
Yeah, there'll be a bunch of games in there. Play Metal Slug.
Well, yeah, any of the Metal Slugs. Off-Road.
I have an Iron Man Stewart's off-road.
That one's really fun. Outrun.
Yeah. Outrun's great.
It's a Sega joint. Cubert.
That's a cute game.
yeah,
too.
Cubert. I like Qbert.
Destin likes Qbert.
Listen, when you play Qbert, listen for when you fall off the edge of the Qbert level. There's a knocker in the game that hits on the bottom wood, and so it times it so it take as long as it takes for Qbert to fall all to the bottom.
Oh,
and you hear him
that's
hit the
cool.
bottom of the cabinet, and it's a little cabinet too.
A lot of Qbert cabinets still, that component's still working.
I would hope so because it's just the same thing that makes every pinball machine work on like a huge scale. There's like 20 of those knockers in a pinball machine.
Interesting.
Just a solenoid.
They have Revolution X, which is an Aerosmith game.
Oh yeah, another shooter.
That was a hit when I was a kid.
Very bad. Very bad.
I like that one. Area and Terminator. Those are all
Area's way
great.
better. If you want to play a shooter, play Area 51 instead.
And Space Invaders. I think Space Invaders is still fun.
For that one, look
iconic.
look into it because it has the cabinet's recessed and it projects the Space Invaders onto a lunar scape that's made out of like neon paper. It's hard to describe, but like you're looking into a hologram basically of the original Space Invaders games. People don't remember that very much, but it looks really really cool in person. It's like
This is awesome. I'm like, what crazy thing is Sam gonna know about the next game?
Fun fact: half of these have been made up.
Yeah.
They have
one fact per episode. I only make up one fact.
they have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's great.
Fun fact: there's a pizza inside.
Pizza Hut sponsored that game on the NES, and there's Pizza Hut logos all over
Yep.
it.
You could get a free pizza from Pizza Hut if you bought it.
With a coupon, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
They have Track and Field.
That's really fun with a friend. Yeah, you have to hit a button as fast as possible. There's a couple
how you play.
iterations of it.
They have Tron. We were just talking about Tron this morning.
Love the Tron arcade game.
Yeah, it's good because it has like 4 games in it.
And they're all really
they're
good.
all
Like
really
the tank
different.
one's really crazy. You bouncing bullets. You got to get the geometry in your mind of bouncing them all around.
Great music too.
Yep.
And they have WrestleFest. You know, play.
I don't know WrestleFest.
Obviously, it's a wrestling game, but
Play it.
Yeah.
And tell us what the
yeah,
hell
you
it
play it and let us know if WrestleFest is good. All right, Sam, this is the pinball games they have. Adam's Family,
Yeah, a perfect
One of
game.
the best of all time.
Arena,
I don't know what that is.
Funhouse,
Yeah.
One of the other best games of all time. Same designer, Pat
You're
Lawler.
going to hate that clown so much.
Ghostbusters,
Rudy. Yeah, good contemporary game.
Gold Wings.
That is a hilarious Top Gun knockoff game. Yeah, with it's just fake Top Gun. Even has the logo and everything.
What's the?
They did a fake Rambo also called Raven.
I wanted to ask you the female Rambo.
Yeah, it's the same company, Gottlieb from that same era.
Jack's Open. I assume that's a golf one. Like
I
Jack
think that's
Nicklaus.
probably a card game or something.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Metallica,
Good contemporary game. Art by Dirty Donnie, local, good friend.
Pinbot,
Pinbot's
Oh.
amazing.
I like Bride
one's
and
good.
Pinbot more.
Bride of Pinbot is better.
Roller Games.
Yeah, that's a 2 versions of that game came out with all ladies and all men on the back glass. You get one or the other, and it's a like a futuristic sport on rollerblades.
Shack Attack.
Yeah, you can guess what that one is. It's the greatest game of all time.
Is it like Shaq Fu?
Yeah, it's a Shaq themed pinball machine.
Space Odyssey.
Space Odyssey is like a 1972 game that has a really cool angular like art style, but it's really boring.
Tron. Which is the Tron
Yeah,
pinball.
Tron Legacy. It just came out like 6 years ago.
yeah.
Beautiful pinball machine. Really cool neon in the ramps.
The
Like,
modern Tron was one of the ones that resurrected pinball, for the contemporary.
yeah, it's definitely one of the gems of like the resurgence.
Movie's okay.
And
Yeah.
World Cup Soccer.
Yeah, so that's dog soccer. Do you guys know what dog soccer is?
No.
World Cup Soccer is a pretty cool ramps based, like fun 90s game. And it's really really complicated and cool, but it's soccer themed with like this dog kicking a soccer ball for some World Cup mascot.
Oh, that's a mascot. That's right.
1992 or 1993. So
If I ever rent out a barcade,
We
I'm
have
just
to do a speed
emailing
round
Sam.
of 20
Okay.
questions.
Sam,
20
here's what I
questions.
think
I'm just
I
gonna
should
ask you
play.
how we were doing on time.
Where it's 12:54.
All right, here we go.
20 questions.
That brings us to video game 20 questions. Our suggestion this week comes from Andrew Campbell. Let the questioning begin.
Does your character wear a hat?
You can.
Okay.
have you played this before, Destin?
Yes, we did last time. I did it terribly, and I thought I'd be prepared. And Justin opens with the hat question.
No, but the answer is good because you can wear a hat means like it's maybe a choosable. Can you choose your character in this game?
Okay.
Yes.
Is it first party? Like Nintendo?
Made by Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good question.
Okay.
Was this game made in America?
Yes.
Did it come out after the year 2000?
Yes.
Is it multi-platform?
Yes.
So is it multiplayer?
Yes.
Oh boy. And you can wear a hat.
So far Destiny fits all of this.
You can't wear a hat in Destiny.
You wear a helmet.
Don't
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
even want to.
Sam's turn, right?
I don't think we need to take turns necessarily. Did it come out after 2010?
Yes.
Ooh.
After 2014.
Be, so are you asking if
It sounds like it came out in 2014. Did it come out after January 1st, 2014?
Yes.
That's
Is this game?
All right.
Is this game played from a first-person perspective?
Yes. That's
okay,
10.
so not third person.
All right. So it's a modern game.
I think it could still be Destiny.
Yeah, it could be
Is it
Destiny,
part of a
yeah.
series?
Yes.
We've already had Destiny.
So it's
Wow.
it's first person, but is it
we couldn't get to it.
is the primary way like gameplay in this game shooting guns? You shooting guns a lot in this game,
No.
but it's first person.
Dun, 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 dun.
Do you level up?
Yeah,
Like, is there an RPG leveling system?
Yes.
Oh boy.
But it has multiplayer and
Wait.
it's after 2014.
I'm thrown off by the first person game
I'm
that's
just
not a
spun
shooter.
out into space. This is great.
First person, not a shooter.
I mean, it's like that's like The Witness, but you don't wear a hat in that game.
No Man's Sky has guns. You don't really have a
Could
hat.
be No Man's Sky. That
You
was
don't
in
have a hat.
2014. Maybe.
Competitive.
It was 2016.
Yeah. Oh, but we don't know it was 2014. We just know it was after January 1st,
Yeah.
2014.
Is this a sci-fi game?
No.
Oh man.
I love when we just knock
Multiplayer,
that.
not first
when
person.
did
Wear a hat.
What about like Punch Out on the Wii U or something like that?
Well, yeah, that is U.S.
not
developed, but
first
it's not
person.
after 2014. That was developed in Canada, actually. Yeah.
U.S. made. I'm debating over whether we should try to.
It's
pin
not first
down
party, so it's not
whether
like
it's EA or
Splatoon.
Activision. I mean, okay, is this an
Splatoon
EA
is
game?
Third party.
Is this an EA game? No.
Or I mean,
That's 15.
Oh.
We are doing a speed round. I feel like if we would have taken our time,
no, I think we'll be fine.
we're not even close to being.
Dan Parkhurst, you got some suggestions for us?
Nothing.
Is anybody in the control?
We should have slowed down. when we
Is it
found
an
out
Activision game?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, you
All
guys
right.
are going straight for developers.
First person, you can select your character, but it's not a shooter.
So that means both those companies weren't involved in any way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
I mean, could it be like a Rocket League type game, like a popular?
I don't know. We're through like all the major developers.
Wait.
or
It could be
What about
like
Sea of Thieves?
it could be like a Skyrim-y. I mean, it's too
Not
late.
first party.
It's too late to be Skyrim. But what are other first person? But and it has an RPG. It's a first person RPG. Is it an RPG?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the multiplayer?
You
part?
level.
So it's Monster Hunter or something.
Oh, he did say there was multiplayer.
Could be Rockstar, like Grand Theft Auto.
He said it's an
Nothing's
RPG.
come out.
You do
It's an
level
RPG.
up. You can wear a hat.
He just said it's an RPG.
Okay.
So it's something like it's like a first person Skyrim-y game.
But could it be Grand Theft Auto? No, I'm just kidding.
With multiplayer is the weird part.
Yeah,
though. So
you're right.
you know, The Witcher and
After 2014, so
Yeah.
pretty modern.
It's like current generation consoles,
how many questions do we have?
multiplat.
3 questions.
Should we ask if it's like this could be like an indie smaller game too?
Hmm?
Well, what about the
game doesn't
RPGs we
have
were just talking
guns?
about, like the big PC RPGs?
Is it The Witness?
No.
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 Look, I was just gonna ask if it has 3D
party.
graphics, but like I'm not sure if that's worth burning this on.
Well, it's first person.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know, but we got to go. I'm getting a little bit nervous.
First
about
person RPG where you level, you can wear a hat. So
Is-
like
do-
you're a person if you're wearing hats, right? Mm-hmm. Like humanoid.
This is just out. Oh man, I don't want to do that.
Can we narrow it down the character that you play as?
Do you play as a human?
robot?
You can.
Okay.
But it's not sci-fi themed. Is it? I don't. Is it like? Does it take place in a fantasy land?
Yes.
So now we have to guess the game.
So a fantasy game that might have some multiplayer to it.
I mean, it does.
That's recent.
there
What
was,
about like Divinity and like stuff like that?
Yeah, but they're the camera's pulled up.
It's not Fallout. It's not
that's a good
Destiny.
point.
It's not Dragon Age.
It could be Dragon Age. That's not first
Because
person.
you play. Oh, you can play as a human.
Dishonored.
I'm really stumped. I'm not good at this game.
I wouldn't call Dishonored a straight RPG. We would have gotten this if we weren't playing a speed round.
Multiplayer.
But I give up.
Giving up? No guess?
Two
Not even a
Worlds
guess.
2.
Yeah.
Is it Sea? No, it's not Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. First party.
Is it Sea of Thieves?
It is not. You got very close, though. It is Bethesda. 2014 came to PC first. Elder Scrolls Online.
Justin, you played that one.
Even said
I did.
Skyrim-like
Yeah.
first-person RPG. Yeah, I don't know.
Oops.
What could that be? Elder Scrolls Online.
And it was on consoles and stuff eventually.
Came to consoles a year later.
Yeah. All right.
And you even played a lot of that game.
Yeah, we did like 30 Let's
Plays,
Plays.
yeah.
Couldn't quite get there this time, but thank you for the suggestion. Andrew Campbell. That is all the scoops we have for you this week. Justin and I need to run to a meeting, so remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Destin. Everybody play Far Cry 5. My name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop. We're out.